Former President Donald Trump has canceled his press conference scheduled for tomorrow, January 6th in Florida. He announced the cancellation in a statement that included name-calling of political enemies and the falsehood that the 2020 election was fraudulent, the big lie. Trump will speak at an Arizona rally on January 15th, if you care. Sharon.
Yeah, he's just going to keep saying the same things. As most of you know, tomorrow is the anniversary of the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. 1 year ago tomorrow, violent mob, overwhelmingly white, armed some of them, stormed the Capitol to stop the certification of the 2020 presidential election. Donald Trump Jr. lost, Joe Biden won. But not this crowd. They didn't believe it. They said there was undermining of the election. They didn't trust the results. 5 people died in this. Hundreds were hurt. 140 of the injured were police officers. There were tons of Blue Lives Matter flags in the crowd. Hundreds of people have now been charged. The number of people convicted, though, that's far lower. It has not gone unnoticed in our community.
It makes you shake your head at America like, you know, where do we go from here? I feel that what I had to sit down and teach tell my children when we saw this was what now we have to do to protect ourselves as African Americans. I feel this country is in jeopardy.
So there you have it. Of course, our experiences, our thoughts on this day and that of others, it might have some differences. Joining us this morning, Dr. Rashad Richey, friend of the show, university professor, host of Indisputable on the Young Turks Network. Very popular show. I love it. Don't miss it. Welcome back to Start Your Day, Dr. Richey. Let's start with this. We all know if this was a Black Lives Matter riot, which we've not seen, okay, this would have escalated. It would have led to much more violence and action, may I say, on the part of the police. Take us deeper into this, Rashad. What does this anniversary mean for Americans, democracy, and Black Americans and how we see things?
Sharon, always good to be with you. It means that, one, democracy is fragile, number one. Number two, it is a real example, a case study of white privilege in the United States of America. Let's be very clear. If those were Black people or if their last names would have been Muhammad, it would have been a bloodbath on that Capitol lawn, and the narrative would have been completely different. Even a district federal judge, the chief judge of that district, who happens to be a white female, she said that the prosecution of this case does not seem to fit the severity of what they did at the U.S. Capitol. And this should serve as a reminder of who Donald Trump is. Sharon, it's time for us to start calling a thing a thing. Donald Trump is in charge of the largest cult ever known to the United States of America. 4 days ago, a survey was released that said 94% of Republicans believe that Joe Biden, the president, and the vice president, Kamala Harris, are either completely illegitimate or somewhat illegitimate in their victory. 94%. You got to think about how hard it is to get any one group to have 94% consensus. But that's what you have in the Republican Party, spearheaded by the political leadership. So less than 1% of their political class is steering the masses that support them.
Yeah, and the thing is, people want to write it off sometimes, and I don't think they're taking it seriously here. You know, hit you right on the hail, Bob. It's a cult, like you said. Only this cult, Rashad, it does perform in very mafiosa ways. This cult is dangerous. And so how can we get Americans to wake up and say, we've got to stop this thing? Or is it too late?
I don't think it's too late, Sharon. I do believe we are a country in the battle for her soul. We are right at that crossroad, that fork in the road, if you would. There was a Charlie Kirk rally, and one of the supporters of Charlie Kirk, known young conservative, he stood up and he said, you know, Charlie, when is it time for us to start shooting people and using our guns? And Charlie Kirk tried to tap it down and say, oh, no, that's, you're feeding into the left. No, Charlie, they're feeding into you. The rhetoric of those on the right have radicalized the followers. Let's be clear about this. If Donald Trump were anyone but a white powerful male, we would call what Donald Trump has done radicalizing terrorists. What happened on January 6th was a terrorist attack against the United States of America, in so much that the aim, the agenda was to literally overthrow the U.S. Constitution, to stop the electoral mandate of a constitutional certification for the presidential election. Their aim is anti-government. I don't see how they continue to hold the narrative of being pro-America when they are anti-military, anti-cop, anti-everything in the government, but somehow they still are pro-American. I've seen nothing like this before. And once again, a highlight of the privilege they have garnered in this public narrative.
Yeah, and I don't have the definition of treason in front of me, but if I had to guess, this is it. You had the leader of the free world who was inciting this. That, to me, has to be the definition of it, Rashad. You have voting rights, fair wages, better education, these core black issues that have not drawn nearly the attention, nearly the passion of these people who showed up on January 6th. Should we be fighting harder against this, harder for what we deserve?
You can't normalize it. There are people that will call my radio show and say, Doc, why do you still talk about this? You have to talk about it because the day you ignore it is the day it becomes normal. And you cannot normalize this kind of behavior. It cannot become typical of the American way. You have to call out the insanity that this presents. The second part of it is we have to fight smarter. Remember, the game of politics is a game of chess, not checkers. And too many of us are playing checkers. Checkers is when you use power to gain position. Chess is when you use position to gain power. Who do we have as Black America in particular positions so that we can make the ultimate move and checkmate their adverse ideology? That is the game of politics. It is not a power play. It is a finesse play with the strategy in mind in order to win the entire game, not just win particular battles.
Well, we're almost out of time. You're scaring me. I don't see any Bobby Fishers running around here lately. But we do have Stacey Abrams running for governor of Georgia, Rashad. I want to know who else is rising in the ranks, willing to fight the fight, lead the next generation, get some of these measures in place that protect the vote.
You have a movement across the country. Right now, we have more members of Congress who are women, minorities, African Americans, and others. You have more LGBTQ brothers and sisters, our allies. You have more of that serving now than you've ever had in the history of this nation. A big part of that is because of the opposite energy of Donald Trump. It's a response to that energy. And here's what we have to do. We have to continue to respond appropriately to the energy they put out. Allow the adversarial nature of their political agenda to motivate you to do something about it. On Glenwood Road, Sharon, we would say, let your haters be your motivators. If this is not motivating to you, if this does not cause you to get up to engage civilly, nothing will, because no matter what democracy we live in, what form of it, all democracies must be protected by the vote.
Well, that's Glenwood's finest right there. If you don't know, look it up. You better look it up. Dr. Rashad Richey, we love having you in the house. Thanks for starting your day with us. We appreciate you, brother.